Okay. What up, bitches? I'm Jamie.
And I'm Lo, and welcome to another episode of Try Saying That Out Loud, a podcast where we talk about weird, hilarious, and only sometimes consequential things.
It's our lives and our truths, unscripted and uncensored.
Sorry, kiddos.
How did that work? Did you like it?
Excellent. Were you trying to surprise me?
Yeah.
Because I was like, oh. I was going to be like, remember to say hello, so it's not just, I'm Jamie.
I did. I said, what up, bitches? We'll see how that sounds later on. Oh,
So good.
listen to that.
So good.
Oh, you know what you missed yesterday?
The coffee situation. It was so many stories I couldn't. So I saw that you had like a right. Yeah, it's like a Dutch coffee thing. Yeah.
Yep.
And you had one and it didn't go well.
It went like fine. So I can't decide. And that's what I'm drinking right now because you put it in an airtight container in your fridge and it stays for like 3 days. So it's fine. It was fine. I think there were two things. One was that it wasn't as cold as it should have been because it had been fucking sitting. Like I didn't have ice in it. I was just drinking it.
Yeah.
Two.
But the drip that you had was iced. Yeah.
Right. But then like once it got, that's why it's supposed to be ice water, but like it still was just like not as cold.
Right.
Like,
well, that makes it a cold brew, right? Like
right.
That's what I mean.
Right. So then the second thing was you're supposed to use these filters on either side of the coffee grounds and it helps to get them wet first. And I didn't. I forgot. Because if you don't get them wet first, like it's going to initially soak up all the water that it's like
right. So you're not going to get any drip out of it.
Right. So that happened. And then I think actually, truthfully, what I think the biggest thing is the kind of beans that I use because it recommends that you use lighter beans. And most of the shit that I have in my house is medium to dark. And I used medium, but I think that probably actually matters the most. So
I ordered some. Though, you should try the filter first, though.
I did. That's what's going right now.
Yeah. Okay.
Just updated the filter. Used the same beans. Everything else is the same. So we'll see. But it definitely
talk about an A/B test, everyone.
Literally, this was me. Tries Dutch coffee one time, buys a science experiment. Like I had it at there was like a local coffee shop I asked that they make Japanese iced coffee, which I don't actually know there is a difference, but I don't know what it is. But it also, the whole thing about it is it removes a lot of the acidity of iced coffee, making it a lot more enjoyable to drink, especially if you have a sensitive stomach. And I went and they were like, oh no, we're out. Have you tried our Dutch coffee? I actually like it better. And I was like, no, but give it to me. And
is it only so Dutch coffee definitionally, is it only cold brew or is it this brewing method?
I don't know the answer to that. I think you can do. I think it's this brewing method. Well, no, you could do it hot.
Yeah. Okay.
I think like you would just have to like reheat it, right?
Right. Yeah.
But like I think okay.
Yeah,
don't quote me on that. I don't know that for sure. But like right, and also the Japanese one is only cold because I think. Well, I don't know. The Japanese one actually it goes. You brew it hot and you brew it immediately over the ice is what the Japanese one is.
Oh, interesting. So the hot goes into it. Interesting. So it's like
it cools immediately.
Hard boiling an egg. You like cool immediately. Nice.
Yes.
Oh, interesting. I love this coffee journey for you.
I also love it. And I got so many messages saying that they were very invested in my journey, like direct quote. And Ben was like, no, they weren't. I don't believe you. And I like had to screenshot a bunch of messages and be like, look, there's like 14 people that are.
People are super into coffee. I mean, coffee is truly an art. Like one of Alex's partners has like a full like barista.
Oh, like
machine.
He stamp it in.
And he's so into it. And he like does his like, it's like not only is it, he loves coffee, but he's like, it says it relaxes him. He's just like very into like the art of the coffee making.
Well, and so I was talking to a friend of mine and she was like, it just amazes me what what lengths they will go to for a good cup of coffee. So I'm always so interested to like watch and see what they do. Like this thing takes fucking 9 hours, 7 hours. Right. She's like, I'm so fascinated at what coffee people will go to, what lengths they will go to for a good cup of coffee. I'm like, yeah, it didn't even occur to me. I was like, yeah, 7 hours, whatever. I'll have a different coffee while I wait. Like, who cares? All right. Not to like be a fucking Debbie Downer. We got to talk about the Meghan and Harry interview.
I mean, we have to talk about it by the time everyone knows that we record this a week before. Right. We record this a week before. So like shit might go down. Although the royal family is rather slow with things.
They've already made their statement. Did you miss that?
I didn't miss it. And I did not miss also that it was signed by the Queen.
Yep.
Which is a big deal. I'm going to go on the record right now and say I think the Queen is the best person in that family.
Right, but like what a fucking low bar.
Low bar, but I don't know. I'm curious about their relationship. She was very kind to Meghan, it seemed.
Right.
From what Meghan was saying. I don't know that they were saying what they were saying about her just to like save face and like, whatever. Anyway, let's talk about it. I have fucking plenty to say because I cannot with the haters.
Like, please give me a fucking break.
Okay, people just hate. Here's what we all know this, right? But people just hate because they're celebrities. When did it become okay to like say that someone was worthy of feeling like they wanted to commit suicide?
Right.
When
I don't
was that okay?
understand.
When was that okay? Just because you like allegedly have all this money and all of these deals, like I don't understand like when and so it makes me so annoyed because when people are hating, I'm kind of just like, well, you're just like fragile and you're jealous.
Well, and you've posted this, I think, and a bunch of people have posted this, but like Meghan is never going to see your fucking tweet about how you don't believe her and how she's full of shit and whatever else. But your friend who's been suicidal before is going to see it and they're going to think you're garbage. Like, that's just the bottom line.
So fucked up. Yeah. I also was in a conversation with someone about this kind of like tangentially, but that they were like, she's just, listen to this, wanted to lose my mind. She's just like so well spoken. I just feel like she like alluding that like Meghan married Harry to come in and like uproot the fucking monarchy. And I was like,
me a motherfucking break.
There are so many layers to this. One, she's well spoken. What?
So she's fucking smart. That's why.
Also, there's so like just like this cloak of like, okay, so because she's a person of color and she's well spoken, like that's a red alert. What the actual fuck? Like that is the most racist thing. Don't fucking say that to me. Also, she very much, the parallels to Princess Diana are
crazy.
Wild. Her life, she was an actress. She had like the one show she was in. Let's be fucking fair. Like she was not a big like she would have.
Like she was big in Suits, but like that was.
She was big in Suits, but let's be real. She would have flown under the fucking radar for the rest of her life and like been doing. She was already giving back. Already had this like, spirit about her where she wanted to like help people. She was prepared, I believe, to do the fucking job and like do it really fucking well. And so when someone implies that because she is fucking well spoken and it seems like there's something wonky going on, like fuck all the way off.
Right.
I cannot even tell you how angry I was. I also had someone be like, well, she should have known, what she was getting into. And I was like, fair.
Right. I don't like the fact that she was like, and not to like, I mean, it is what happened to her is still fucking terrible, no matter if she was prepared or not.
Right.
How do you not research what you're going into?
Totally, 100. I think she was like, didn't know. I didn't. Okay, here's the other thing though, and Alex and I were talking about this. I was like, okay, yes, maybe she should have been a little bit more educated. One, you're in love and you're like starry-eyed and you're just like, I love this person. And I believe they're really in love. I really believe that.
Same. It's clear.
Very, very obvious. And the second, Princess Diana was in this world far more than Meghan was.
And she didn't have a fucking clue.
And she was not fucking prepared.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point.
Like, she was not fucking prepared for the feeling so isolated and feeling so lonely. And Princess Diana didn't have the issue of like having fucking security and support when she was fucking pregnant with children. Like she didn't have that concern. I just like, I'm sorry, the haters, if you're hating on this, you need to dig deep. You're incredibly envious of whatever position they hold. It's so nasty of people to be like, oh yeah, but she's a royal. So like, I don't care that she wanted to commit suicide. What? Right. Like, that is so not fucking right. And it's not, and she did not go into this wanting to upend the monarchy.
No.
At a certain point, if there are lies being spread about you, don't you want to fucking stand up and be like, and by the way, I think Meghan held her tongue, did not, I mean, obviously people are now coming out with like, oh, was she talking about William and Kate? You know, what is the issue?
Right.
She held her tongue and was like, you know, look, I'm not going to go into that. I think it'd be very damaging.
And then
And
Oprah was like, but Harry, tell me who it was.
right, and Oprah does an incredible job. But like,
she's such a good interviewer.
Let's talk about like being respectful, because I do think that like if you watched that interview and you felt anything but like sadness, especially for Harry, who is sitting here and he has a brand new wife,
family,
and he's so excited. No one's supporting his wife. No one's supporting his child. His dad's not answering his phone calls. What the fuck out? Like, come on. They're spewing, like, I thought the most egregious, not the most, I shouldn't say that, but like the fact that Meghan was bringing up examples of like when the royal family knew that lies were being perpetuated in the press and they chose not to
say anything.
Like, okay, so I feel like I'm on an island. Like, no wonder she felt the way it was just, can't with the fucking haters.
No. And, you know, Ben, like on that note with the haters, he does not understand anyone's obsession with the royal family at all. Not just Harry and Meghan, any aspect of it. He's like, I don't get why we talk about them. Like, I don't understand why anyone cares, whatever. And I'm like, that's fine. That's a valid opinion to hold. Like, you can, right, we're American. It does not, right. I get it. But if we're going to talk about them, the racist fucking most racist fucking institution in existence, and like a person of color who is she's half white, and you have Harry, who is the whitest white of all time, and you have come in and you're worried about a child who is going to be 1/4 a person of color, and you're worried about his skin tone. Like, who the fuck are you? Who's having that conversation?
Not. So Alex looked at me and he was like, I mean, obviously they're racist. And I was like, I know that. Like, I know. Hello, colonialism. Like, the reason we had slaves.
Right.
Like, here we go, built literally on the back of racism. But like, I just, to hear the things from Meghan's perspective and how there was zero attempt to even like appear to do the right, like say the right thing or do the right thing. It's just blatant.
Right.
Like blatant racism. And I was just like, okay, so they're really not even paying attention at all to anything. Like it's
so I mean, really, that was Charles, right? That's the only thing I can come up with that statement was made by Charles. You think it was William?
I don't not think it was William. Here's the thing. William, did you see that he was like, he and Kate went to like the opening of a school, and his comment was, my family is not racist.
Right.
And, but have you talked to Harry?
Our communication channels are open or opening or something. Yes.
No, he said, oh no, I have not yet. I'm like, it's been many days. You haven't talked to your brother yet about this like heart-wrenching, like where he's lost his family. Like, he's literally lost his mom's gone, obviously.
Right.
But like his lost
his piece of shit.
Yeah. Like, you don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry that this is like, even if you remembered the events differently, or like you didn't, you're never going to
recalled events differently.
Right. You're never going to internalize it the same way as someone else. And in any case, why not? Like, no one is going to. So you can make a fucking effort and be like, oh, I feel so bad. Like that's how, wow. Like, when I heard it from your perspective, like, no, literally these people and these haters also have the amount of empathy as a sponge. Like, I have more empathy in my little fucking pinky finger than these people do. It's just like, I can't. So
you think it was William?
I don't know. I
mean, it was one of the two of them. Like, because Harry made a point of telling Oprah it was not the Queen or Prince Philip.
Right. Which is why I'm just like wondering, like, when they say they had discussions with the family, how much the Queen is actually, I mean, she's old as fuck now. Does she even?
True. But Ben said this to me, and like, I did agree with him. He said, yes, she's old as fuck, and like, whatever.
Anyway.
But nothing is happening without her. Okay. Is what he said. He said,
that's true.
Like, if the firm, the institution is not backing Meghan up when they're making these lies about her in the tabloids. And, the story about her making Kate cry when it was really Kate making her cry, and they didn't address it. Like, that isn't happening unless the Queen is giving it the thumbs up.
Yeah.
Which,
I just wonder, how, because they say that Philip, who is he out of the hospital, by the way? He was really
I don't think
ill,
so. He had heart surgery.
So that Philip ran the cat, he had a lot to do with running certain aspects of he's still
100. So
I know. So that's also, I don't know. I don't know who it was. I'm not going to try to fucking speculate. I'll
speculate all day. I just
think that I understand that William I expect more from William, I guess. And I understand that William and Kate are almost next in line, and it's their family line that's going to be in this. But I think it's such a mistake for this royal family to have handled it the way they did, because they could have really used her. They could have used her, right? For lack of a better word, could have used Meghan to truly make the crown more relevant. If they're 100%. Concerned about their livelihood, and they could use
in
her
the same way that Diana did it. Not that I'm trying to reference the crown, but now Ben is more interested in it because it's a lot more current eventy. We are almost caught up. Yeah. So about halfway through season 3, we I guess when the new Queen, Ben likes the new actress better, of the Queen.
Oh, she does.
And he's I like the way that they portray her as the crazy aunt, sort of, instead of the Queen in these later seasons. When she had all of her kids to determine which one was her favorite. He was I like this version of the Queen. She's in Psycho.
Funny. It's kind of funny. When Philip is you don't think Anne. You have a favorite? You're insane. She's oh. Right. I made Alex watch that scene with me. He doesn't really watch it, but I made him.
It was great. But so to that end, we're in the Diana era now watching it, and it's
all the Diana content. Give me all of the Diana content.
It's right, but it's so, the parallels are wild. And you see how she goes on this Australia tour and crushes it. And same with Meghan. Everyone was Meghan, it's the breath of fresh air that they want in the monarchy, and then they shit all over it. Everyone's pumped, right. And then they're oh no, we don't like you.
And then I was listening to was it The Daily? I think so. The Daily. Did you listen? They had a little bit, and I loved that. But I was getting a little frustrated because I was trying to understand there's someone tangential to me who grew up in the UK.
Okay.
And her opinion on it, which I didn't speak with her directly about, but her opinion loosely was she should have known what she was getting into, and
which everyone can somewhat agree with, but right. Not to your point. Diana was knew so much more and didn't have a fucking clue.
She didn't have a fucking. She was never prepared. She was not prepared for that level of I just think that's such an important thing to remember. But anyway, so her perspective, generally, she was whatever, she should have known what she was getting into, but very little, oh, I feel so bad, this is and I was getting annoyed, and I was why? They did mention, and this is so interesting because I think it's very, very true, but they did mention that culturally in the UK, people hate when people complain. I don't need to know about your problems. We don't talk about feelings here. I don't. So it's a very cold. So if you're in that kind of old world,
yeah,
or I don't want to say that because this person's young, but her parents, the way she grew up was more traditional. Then that's what her perspective
right. It's our parents' generation where it's oh, we don't go to therapy. What's therapy?
Exactly. Right. Whereas I do think there's this I think that Daily episode was interesting because there is this broad swath of people who supported Diana too. And people who probably support Meghan in this modernization of the monarchy. Because to Ben's point, it's why the fuck do we care?
Right.
There are monarchies everywhere. You can go to Africa to find some some princesses. You can go to fucking Sweden,
right?
The Netherlands. So it's funny. It is interesting that there's this.
That we only care about this one.
Broad appeal, right? Which why? I don't. Who knows? It's so interesting.
I don't know.
I find monarchy fascinating.
White supremacy, maybe.
Yeah, probably. I know, but like, okay, go to Sweden. They're all
Right?
white people there too.
Yeah, that's
Like,
true.
I'm like, I don't know. Anyway, I don't know why I said what I just said. I'm trying to
No.
like make sense of why people are so cold towards Megan.
Well,
And
I mean, to kind of move from the interview, but like I assume you heard like the Piers Morgan thing.
Wilds. I like her.
Wild.
I heard it. Uh
Unbelievable.
huh.
Unbelievable. Um, like storming off of his own set,
I
refusing
can't
to
do this
apologize,
anymore.
and
I like.
doubling down. Basically, it was like either you're fired or you're going to apologize, and he quit so he didn't have to apologize and doubled down on it. And did you hear the whole date story?
No. Oh, Megan and Pierce went on a date one time or something, right? And she like turned him or cut him
Yeah, well,
off or
like
like
he
long
thought it
time
was a
ago.
date.
Right.
Right. He thought it was a date. And it is unclear whether she thought it was a date, but they were one-on-one, had a couple of drinks. He put her into a cab. She went to a party and met Prince Harry that night.
Oh, I
And
didn't
he was
know
like,
that.
I never heard from her again. So he's fucking bitter.
He's
Like,
such a
give me a
twat.
fucking break. Like, right. He's just disgusting.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad that he got
And you
called. That
wonder
his
why
co-star
we
called
hate
out.
all men. You wonder why we hate men. Because he's holding a grudge like fucking 10 years later. Give me a break.
I know, like get over it, move the fuck on.
I cannot.
Anyway, so I'm
Speaking
team
of,
Megan and Harry for sure.
well, not that we're making this any, lighter, but switching to a different pop culture moment.
Uh-huh.
Listen, I wish we were fucking done talking about The Bachelor, but we're not.
We're never gonna be done.
We're never going to be done. Because poor Matt James, like his season just got fucking derailed, and like I just feel terrible for him. And like not in the same way that people like are like, why do you care about Megan? Like, why do you care about Matt James? Like it just fucking sucks. Like he's the first black
People
male
just
lead.
don't have any empathy. Like humans
Right.
need to be less of who they are right now for me. I'm like so fucking annoyed of like these like you're behind a screen and of course you're brave and just
Right.
grosses me out. Sorry.
So for anyone that doesn't watch, they had their fantasy suite episode, which is there's the final 3 people and they go on like a day-long date, and they have the option at the end of the date to share like a suite together or share a room together. Before that started, Matt's dad, who he is like very estranged with and has like a bad to no relationship with his dad, and he said that in the beginning of the season. He comes to the set and they like have this like really intense conversation that 100% should not have been aired on national television.
I don't understand who made that call. I don't understand who thought it was a good idea to put this like, because it's not just, I mean, like, I was so conflicted because in the end, I felt like I'm so glad Matt had that conversation with his dad. And then I was like, but why the fuck did I need to see? Like,
right.
no
We
one
did not
needed
be any part correct. And like he
like so
right,
exploitative. Like
is extremely exploitative. And like I was listening, I think Rachel Lindsay said this, like in the same way that Megan was like, my biggest regret is like trusting the monarchy was like going to protect me. Like Matt trusted that the Bachelor producers weren't going to fuck him over. And like, I got the impression, and I don't know if this is true, but I got the impression that the Bachelor producers reached out to Matt's dad, like kind of unbeknownst to Matt.
Oh, wow. Really?
I don't know if that's true. So like someone can fact check me on that. But like he's so estranged with his dad that like it seems like kind of weird that all of a sudden he was like, yeah, like right before I'm about to sleep with all these girls, like I need to have this conversation with my dad.
Right. And I need to understand that from Matt's perspective, because I believe, I don't know, and I don't know if Rachel Lindsay has commented on this because she's been in the position of being Bachelor, Bachelorette, but he could have, I mean, he can say no, right? Like he can say, don't fucking record that. Like, no, or stop. Like, just if it gets weird, stop. Like, they've record people doing that all the time.
Right. And I'm not totally, she talked to Matt before it aired and he was like really uncomfortable with it airing. So like, I don't totally know what their level.
Yeah. So he
like,
didn't have maybe as much.
He was like, this was painful it was painful in the moment and it's painful to rewatch it. Like he was like really unhappy. And like, to both Matt and Rachel's points, like it clearly perpetuated like a horrible Black stereotype of absentee fathers. Like, I mean, I mean, obviously he was an absentee father, but there's a horrible racial stereotype about Black fathers not being around. And like, The Bachelor is just like, here you go. Let me feed into that stereotype and have Matt talk to his dad on national television and air out all of their family issues. And like, I just can't imagine who sat there and was like, yep, we got this. This is how we're going to show our racial diversity, is like air this really, really deep and personal conversation. No one needed to be part of that. No one needed
Honestly,
to be part of that.
It was when Matt was talking, it struck me as, this seems like something, like, it seems like Matt needed to word vomit on his dad.
Yeah,
right?
For sure.
Like, he needed to just be like, here's I just need to say this out loud. Like, I don't know that he expected reconciliation. Like, he didn't go in to like solve a problem. He went in to say, I just need you to know that you've affected me in XYZ way, and I'm moving on from that, and I'm not going to carry it anymore. Right. And that was the purpose of what he was saying. So to me, I was like, I would have written a note to a family member. I would have written a letter. I would have like, whatever, here you go. And then like, maybe if we have a meeting down, maybe then it's a phone conversation. But like, it would have just, it felt like Matt had so much to say, but there was so little reason for there to be a dialogue.
Right. Like, what was his dad going to say to help?
Exactly. So like, that's where I was like, this is where it feels weird. It's like, there's no dialogue. Like, what, there's nothing.
Well, there was, and his dad was getting defensive. And like, right. Obviously I'm not in a position to judge their conversation like at all.
Totally.
But like, that is not what Matt was looking for. He was not looking for his dad to make excuses.
Exactly. He didn't need his dad to fucking say anything. I mean, I guess in the end, they're like, maybe they have a relationship, and I'm really happy for that for them. Like, I don't, but yeah, I don't.
Well, I don't know. Then they turned it into, and maybe because Rachel said that Matt was uncomfortable with all of it, I have to think that like there is some producer led conversations with this, but then it got brought up on all 3 of his dates at dinner. He was like talking to all of them about how he had this conversation with his dad.
They definitely told them to ask.
Right. Like that. I mean, that had to have been the case, because otherwise like it could have been an amazing conversation with Brie, because her mom was also a single mom. And so, but like that didn't happen. Like they didn't, if it happened, they didn't air like a conversation about it. It was just like, oh yeah, we relate.
Yeah, I definitely feel like they pigeonholed Matt James into having this conversation, period, and then continuing to have that, like, because it's beauty
like trauma porn.
Trauma porn 100%. And my try saying that out loud moment is so super, and we're gonna have to unpack this, because I don't even know how to start the conversation, because so much of what I'm gonna say can come off as total white privilege, and like I'm a total white asshole.
Okay, so let's do it.
So let's talk about that. I think I just had this moment. I was scrolling through Instagram. I don't know if it was my personal or my Lit with Low, but I was, story after story of people, whether they're white, people of color, Black, just constantly fighting a ton of battles on Instagram for negative comments, racist reviews, like people not being accountable to things. And I had this moment, and I was also on vacation, so I was taking a little bit of a mental break, but I had this moment of being just like so grateful that I didn't have to fight. Like, I could ignore it, right? Like, I could be like, okay, this is like toxic energy right now.
That's like your news cleanse, right? In the same vein.
Similar vein. It's like, I don't need any sort of like toxic energy in here.
Right.
Like, the issues are so complicated and whatever. And so then I had this moment of, okay, yeah, but I'm a white girl that doesn't need to fight every battle, because it doesn't directly affect me. But then I had this moment of like, why? And I also just think that people engage on social media because it's a veil. And
a veil, like a screen?
Yeah. Like, it's not confrontational in terms of like one-on-one in person.
Right.
You have your words. You can say the perfect things you need to say. As a white person, you can be like, are you speaking out against something because we've talked about performative allyship all the time. Are you speaking out because it's performative and because it makes you look good, or is it something you truly believe in?
Right.
And I just think that social media is this atmosphere of like toxic energy, and like people aren't listening to each other. People are kind of this cults pack mentality of like, oh, you fuck with my friend, I'm gonna fuck with you. And like when you have no involvement, I think there's this dangerous white centering that is happening with a lot of it. But also this side where I'm like, I just, to my friends or people who I follow who like, I felt so much sadness for them, feeling like that they had to fight all of these battles all the time, because even reading them, I am exhausted.
Yeah.
Right?
It's a lot.
It's a lot. It's a lot. And I just feel like social media puts this pressure on people to like that is the place where you perform your good deeds.
Right.
And I want these people to also like, spiritually, it's not healthy. Like my
also
first
do it in real life.
Right. And spiritually, it's not healthy. So like, I know like this feels like the place that, and at a certain point it's right. Like there was, I don't know if you follow Blair Imani. I don't know if I'm saying her name right, but she had a post recently about colorism, and she's a light-skinned not totally white passing, but light-skinned,
lighter skinned, yeah,
on the spectrum. And someone darker than her called out her post on colorism and was like, you're kind of profiting off of this in a way, and like you don't experience the full range of colorism, so like amplify the voices of those that are actually affected by what you're talking. Exactly. And she took her post down, but posted and like apologized, like, I'm holding accountable, I totally get it. And like great, fine. But what starts happening, and I see it especially on Bookstagram, is this like in the comments, like I don't understand. Like you can say, hey, this in a comment, hey, this makes me a little bit uncomfortable for these couple of reasons. I'm going to DM you so we can talk about it. But why are we doing this, like commenting? It's like you want the world to see that you are standing up against this or something. I don't know what it is, but you want the world to see. And then you're like, and to your point, which happened to you kind of recently, like someone was like using someone else's trauma against them. And like, there's all sorts of very little like black and white empathy things happening, right? It's like, okay, but so if you're going to talk about mental health and not about race, like what does that mean? Like but it's like everyone has their own experience. We're not going to learn anything if we're not talking, I guess.
Okay,
but
so
please, yes, because I don't know if what I'm saying is like so fucked up.
I have multiple thoughts. So the first thought, I'm just going to go backwards from what I remember, the comments. So I have two thoughts on that. The first is of course, like the DM is more comfortable, right? And like you can have the personal conversation. And that's probably the way most people prefer to have the conversation. It's one-on-one, and, you can kind of hash out whatever your issues are. So like, and I'm good with that. Like, people want to do that, and people, respect that way of communicating. Cool. However, I'm not going to say that they have to go, when obviously you aren't either, that they have to go in the DMs. And I guess it's more for white people that it's more performative if you're commenting, if a black person or a person of color is taking the time to educate somebody on a post, that's sort of one thing to me. It's more of another thing if a white person feels like they need to like jump in and attack, and like, are you being performative in that way?
Yeah.
Right. Are you centering yourself in that way? The other thing is,
can I stop you here? Because that is a good point. So I think that people comment, and you're right. It's mainly, when I'm speaking of the performative nature of it, it's mainly white people. Like, what are you going to possibly add to this?
Right.
There are other ways to show your support for people that are like holding other people accountable. I just think, and I agree, it's like if a person of color is spending the time in the comments to like educate, they're probably doing so because they want, I don't know, do people read comments on social media? Like, I don't really read other people's comments. That's the problem. Maybe that's what I'm missing, because I don't read comments. So like, if they're trying to
I sometimes do.
If they're broadly trying to educate, I get that, right? They're like, okay, so this is problematic and here's why. But I think for me, it's not the problem with the initial comment of like calling someone out or holding someone accountable. It's the then continuing that and then attacking each other and then having more people chime in. And like, it just needs to like stay a little bit more contained. Like, you can educate, and then the person who posted the problematic post can be like, okay, I understand what you're saying. I'm feeling this way. Let's talk about it and like work it out amongst ourselves. And I guess there's not this culture of like, so if I, for instance, got called out on a post, using Blair Imani as an example, if like I got called out on a post like that, I would have done exactly what she did. I would have said,
taken accountability.
Right. I would have, yes, but I would have fully taken accountability. I would have been like, she educated me, and like, here's what we talked about, right? Like, this is why, and that's how I would educate my audience versus expecting someone else to do the educating in my comment section. Right? Like, but I guess maybe that doesn't happen as much. I don't know. Like, is there like a distrust? Like, I feel like Bookstagram especially is like kind of toxic. Like, it is like everyone's either overperforming or like not. There's just like, right. Exactly.
So this is the balance I'm having a really hard time finding.
Yeah.
And not that you should have to, but you need to pick your battles. Like, you shouldn't, when it comes to racism, you shouldn't have to pick your battles, right? Like, you shouldn't have to pick whether you're fighting for BIPOC people today or LGBTQ people today or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But you have to decide where your energy is going to make a difference. Mm-hmm. Does your energy need to go? I mean, it's great that Blair took, accountability for, and she's setting a huge example. She has a huge audience. Yeah. So like for her, she took the post down, she took accountability. She like posted her thing. Do I personally, I'm a white person, so it doesn't really make any difference, but do I personally think that she needed to do that? No. Like, clearly Blair Imani is doing the work, and like, obviously she needs to be educated in the same way everyone needs to be educated, right? Like, she's not held to
I think why she did it, because like people look at her and she's like, oh well, you're a person of color, and like the idea that like people of color and Black people can be racist, and like like those things like that people can't in their head hold on to two things at the same time. Yeah, they seem so contradictory. Exactly. So I think okay, sorry.
Right. So I think part of it, is where you spend your energy, and it kind of goes outside of Bookstagram, right? Like, mm-hmm. Obviously, you have Aunt Jemima on the syrup bottle. You have Uncle Ben on the rice box. And Black people are like, we just want police to stop killing us. Yeah. Like, not that those things are completely unimportant. Like, they're a thing. But like, they're like, we asked for a stop to police brutality, and we like didn't ask for Aunt Jemima to disappear. Like, that's not what we're asking for here, right? So like, in the same vein, when you get on Bookstagram and people are like nitpicking a word or whatever the thing is, Black people or whoever it is are entitled to feel that way. They're entitled to their feelings. They're entitled to their hurt or whatever it is. But white people need to pick what battles they're jumping into. Their voice is not going to be that important most of the time.
Don't amplify your white voice.
Right. Your voice is not going to be that important most of the time. Let the people of color and the Black people say what they want to say and educate us in the way that they want to educate us, and step back. And to some extent, all white allyship is going to be performative, right? Like, unless you're doing it totally in secret, which you can be donating in private, you can be reading in private, you can be educating in private and having one-on-one conversations. And there are certainly people that are doing that, right? But if you have any sort of following on social media, it's sort of expected that you do something. Like, I have almost 11,000 followers, which is like not that big in the grand scheme of social media, but like, that's enough. It's enough where people expect me to say things. They expect me to have thoughts. They expect me to like, if I'm calling myself an ally, they expect me to prove that, so to speak. It's all like, to some extent, it's always going to be performative. I'm posting something in my story truly because I believe it, but also I need to signal to you that I believe it. You need to know that I believe it. And that's why I'm sharing something in my story. So like, circling back to what you said about all the constant like the constant infighting, basically. People are fighting with people, quote unquote, on the same team, right? Like they're fighting with people that are also trying to do the work. I see much less fighting about overtly racist people and, calling out people that are saying overtly racist things than I do with people that are doing the work and made a mistake, if that makes sense.
Right. And I just think there's that, no, 100%. And I think what I was starting to say about Rachel Kirkconnell is that, like, we've talked a little bit about cancel culture versus accountability culture. And like, there's a very fine line to me. I just feel like Instagram, social media jumps down this cancel culture trap so fucking fast. And it's not anything against, it's not to say that people of color and Black people should not 100% if they have the energy and that's where they believe, to your point, that's where they believe that they're going to make a change.
And do it, for sure.
And do it. I just think that there then becomes this like pile on of all of these other people that like you don't need to engage. Like, show your support in other ways. You can like it. You can DM them, say, hey, I love, like, thank you for educating. Like, it's so great. Like, there are just like, it just becomes then this like back and forth, which is really damaging. Like, especially if, someone's telling a life story in a comment that like maybe isn't the full picture, but like for that person, that's like was so real. It's like, how are you going to deny? I don't know. We're just getting to this where it's so divisive that I worry that it's not only toxic to the people who are continually putting their energies into like trying to educate, which is like something they shouldn't have to do. But if that's, how they're choosing to spend their time, but it's toxic for people because it's going to make people afraid to fucking say anything. And then we're going to get back into that trap of like, oh, I don't see color. I don't talk about it.
Right. And not to say, and we're, right now, like you and I are walking the finest line with this conversation and we both know it. And we're both trying to like be very aware of that.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that any BIPOC person should be, monitoring what they say and how they say it. They don't have to.
No,
they don't have to.
Not what I'm saying. Right.
However, I do like, and this is just like sort of the reality of white people. This is the reality of white people. And Rachel Lindsay has said this. She has said, like, yeah, say it however you want, do it however you want. Like, you are fully entitled and people shouldn't be judging you or calling you out for saying it how you want to say it.
Not at all.
Like, but you are going to get further if you have the conversation XYZ way versus ABC way.
Well, and you have to imagine like there are like, this is where you want to spend your energies. Fine. You have an audience. Fine. Like Blair Money is a good example of that, right? Like she has a huge audience. That's her brand. Like this is what she does.
Right.
But there's also this, and I think Rachel Lindsay has said this to your point of what you alluded to. It's just, you might not get anywhere on social media. And anyway, so I guess like my try saying that out loud moment was this realization that like, oh wow, I don't need to partake in all of these. I don't need to fight every battle.
No. And we aren't like, not only do we not need to, like we probably aren't wanted.
That was the other, but then, so then I had that emotion of like, oh, I'm so privileged to not have to fight this. But then I was like, but is this, do they even want me there? Is this even getting it anywhere? Is it, so I had all of these emotions and just like the feeling of, which is why I take a step back from Instagram all the time. I just feel like there's always a new fucking thing. And to your point, it's like someone tearing apart a word. And I'm like, oh my God, like what is going on now? Like, is it actually like, I want conversations to be had and I want people to be called out and to be held accountable. But at what point is it literally toxic for, everyone involved to a certain extent? It's like how are we, to your point, how are we spending our energies, right? Like,
right. And I think the bottom line is while I don't, and no one should want to tone police any BIPOC person that is trying to educate. Like Rachel Lindsay said, and I'm quoting her because she is a BIPOC voice. And I'm not trying to say, well, like you should do what she said because it benefits me as a white person. Like I do think that for a lot of white people that haven't started the work, aren't ready to do the work, aren't doing the work, whatever it is, there is literally no situation where they're going to react positively, if they feel like they're being attacked. Like they're never going to, and like, I'm not saying they shouldn't be attacked, but they're never going to start doing the work if they feel like they're being attacked. They're going to be like, see, this is what happens when I try and have a conversation. They're just going to make up some excuse and pretend like they don't owe it to anybody. And that isn't fair. And that's not okay. But it's the reality. It is what it is. And Rachel has said that. And she said, that's why I don't go into these conversations, on the offensive, because it's not going to make any difference. If you go into the conversations like that, it will get through to none of these people. And that's not fair. And that's not okay. It just is. Like, that just is the case. And it sucks. But the white people that are already doing the work, so quote unquote, or like, trying to learn and unlearn things, those aren't like the people that you need to be as worried about, I guess. Like, call us all out. Like, I'm good with that. I'm good with being held accountable. I just like, I want the energy to be placed where it matters, and like where it's really going to make a difference. And like, is the change of a word in a review going to make that difference? Is that where our energy is best suited? And as white people, it's definitely not best suited. Like, we don't need to jump on that train.
And then I know, but it also brings up this like who's determining who's doing the work, right? Like, I don't, like, we can't sit here and be like, oh, this BIPOC person is commenting on a post of someone who's quote unquote doing the work. It's like, if this BIPOC person feels like, once again, it's like, who the fuck knows? So maybe the answer is, I mean, white people have a lot of work to do to bring our other white brethren to the fucking fold. So like, then there's the question of like, okay, but are BIPOC people going to see us trying to hold, like, at what point is that white centering, right? Where we're like, this is wrong, we're holding you accountable, and it's our voice. But like, I don't feel like, I don't know. It's just a question of like, whose energies are best spent on this. Like, white people have a shit ton of work to do. So like, should we be the ones calling some of these people out so that BIPOC don't have to waste the energy? But then is that us white centering? So like, it's a very delicate, very, very delicate topic. I think what both of us are saying is that we're just so sensitive to where people's energies are being spent. And this, like, it becomes toxic because white people enter the conversation, or like people that are not directly involved in the conversation. That's 100%. How it becomes. It's not toxic because someone's calling someone out, rightfully 100%. So, not at all. It becomes toxic when then it's like everyone piles on, and then it's like, it literally is like Mean Girls on both sides. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's attacking everyone.
And like, I'm guilty of that, like, I've done it. I've, spend my fucking days on Bookstagram, and like, it's not something I'm proud of, but like, you're going to make mistakes, and you're going to learn, and you hold yourself accountable, and you apologize, and you admit that you did something wrong, and you learn and grow from it, and you apologize. Like, you apologize to the appropriate people, right? Like, you don't have to bring it back to 11,000 people. If 11,000 people don't know about it, you apologize to the appropriate people, and you don't center yourself in your apology, and you move on. But like, it is an incredibly fine line, especially for people like you and I who consider ourselves like, somewhat educated on this and making a real effort to quote unquote do the work. I wish there was another fucking phrase for that. It's starting to lose its meaning, sort of.
It's losing its meaning a little. I know. I agree.
Yeah. But it's especially hard for us because we're so conscious of making a mistake, or upsetting someone, or stepping over the line, or being performative, or whatever it is. And we don't want to make a mistake. We don't want to step over the line. And like, the truth of the matter is we're just going to, because we're white. And
but it's like, but then it's reflect like, why do we not want to make a mistake? Because we don't want to be called out and like dragged through the mud on social media. Like, that's why. But
it matters sort of who your following is, right? Like, I don't think I have a ton of racist people that are following me. Like, everyone is racist, but I don't think I have a ton of like overtly racist people following me.
Not attempting to understand their
correct biases. Like, I just don't think you get that far on my page, like, and want to continue following me if that's like your jam. But then you have people like and so that matter, like what I post is a little bit less important than it is for someone like Rachel Kirkconnell.
Yeah.
Fuck. Who has 450,000 followers. And she literally may be the only person that's sharing any of this information on so many people's feeds. So like that is, and that's not
it's
good,
a different responsibility. Yeah.
But it's a different, you have to think of what you're posting in like a different way. And that's not necessarily fair. But it just is what it is. Like you are now in the spotlight. And if you are going to, claim that you're doing these things, like unfortunately, social media is the only place where people are going to see that for you.
Yeah.
And your impact matters more.
Yep.
So
yeah,
it's a lot.
But that was my moment.
Yeah. No, it's good. And it's so hard to think about. And like, I think this is probably the most challenging conversation you and I have had about it because like, you don't feel right in any way. Like,
no, it feels icky to like say that it's bad. Like it's hard to articulate because it's such a fucking fine line. Yeah. I think. And it's like, who am I to tell people where they're to spend their energies? But I don't feel like I'm trying to tell people where to spend their energies, but I'm also like, protect yourself because this place is so nasty.
It's a nightmare. Right.
It's like it's never going to be okay. So like protect yourself, block the people you need to block, like, exercise those rights and then
but truthfully, if anyone, who's listening, is BIPOC and has thoughts, wants to tell us where we're wrong, has thoughts, places where they agree with us, has like a different perspective, like please DM us. Like
please.
Would love to have that conversation because like it is something that we like don't have the proper perspective on and we're never going to have it. So yeah, would love to continue that conversation. What is Lo going to tell us today? Lo, I want to know.
Lo, you want to know. Everyone wants to hear my voice again for another 30 minutes. Just fucking straight my voice. So this was a question from a few weeks ago. So I apologize I can't remember who asked this. And I just went on my list kind of because I didn't feel like I had a solid enough grasp. Lo, I want to know, what should I do /eat /consume in any capacity to improve my energy levels?
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, which I think a lot of people need kind of like a natural energy boost. So there are a couple of, I'll talk about foods and things in particular. There are a couple of things. I mean, the first as just kind of baseline. So our bodies are like 70% water, which I think everyone knows. Mm-hmm. But water is really critical for like random metabolic reactions in the body happening. So like the transportation of energy, the, enzymatic reactions and those types of things. So if you're dehydrated, you're going to feel like shit. So just drink water. The recommendation is 64 ounces a day. There is water in food, so keep that in mind. So it's not like I try to drink as much, close to 64 ounces a day because it doesn't hurt. You just pee it out. Right. But you do get a little bit of water in some, fruits, vegetables especially. But 64 ounces a day is the recommended. Or if you're like not a water drinker and you need to get in a better habit, you can take your weight, divide it in half, and that in ounces can be what you drink as well. Which
that seems like more than 64.
Is that more?
For me, it depends on.
Yeah, it depends on your weight, but that can be, another way to
right.
Whatever
for
the
me,
lesser
it's
of,
more.
Or the lesser of, like whatever. Just try to get there at least.
Yep.
And then there are some of the vitamins, minerals I'll talk about are B vitamins, magnesium, vitamin C, and iron. So those are kind of big. So B vitamins especially, and I'll go into this. They're kind of known as the busy bees. They're like 9 of them.
That's a lot.
B12 is probably the one people most associate with energy levels. But they basically, they're at the root of all sorts of metabolic react, kind of similar to water. Like so much goes on in the body that requires it. But anyway, so they naturally occur mainly in animal products, especially liver, eggs, dairy products, poultry, basically anything. Fish. I think oysters and clams are super high in B12. So those are naturally occurring, and that's like basically the best source. There are some sources that are vegan, vegetarian. So I think I've talked about nutritional yeast in the past, which you can't have. Also, by the way, I apparently have a yeast allergy that I didn't know about.
Fucking told you.
A lot of food allergy basically means that your blood, the barrier of your stomach, where basically, the lining of your stomach separates your stomach contents from your bloodstream. So if things are getting across that barrier, your body is kind of, oh, what is this foreign substance? Like, is this foreign? Like, what is this? So a lot of the times, if you have a leaky gut, you could show medium or low reactivity to something that doesn't mean you're allergic. It just means it's getting it's getting where it's not supposed to be. And your body's kind of creating an immune response. So there's that. Back on the B12. So nutritional yeast, beans. So black beans, soybeans, and chickpeas are the highest in B12. So hummus all day, good source. Nice. Oats naturally have some B12 in them. And then on the seed spectrum, sunflower seeds, but they're not super high in B12. They're high in folate, which is B6. And you would need a fucking shit ton of them. So the answer is if you're a vegan or a vegetarian, you likely are B12 deficient most of the time.
Interesting.
I think only it's like 1.5 to 15% of Americans are deficient in B12. And there aren't a ton of studies. My feeling is that if you're not eating a ton of meat products, like you're probably not getting a lot of B12. So B12 is one that actually does. So most of the B vitamins are water soluble. So they're kind of like, you have vitamin C and you just pee the excess vitamin C out, right? Like it's pee the excess vitamin C out. But with vitamins that are fat soluble, they store. So most B vitamins you pee right out. B12, actually, you can have B12 stores, which is good. But you need a good amount of B12 in your system. And so if you're not having meat more than a few times a week, probably 2 or 3 times, then you're probably a little bit deficient on the B spectrum. So I supplement personally with B vitamins.
I also do.
Because I eat meat, but there's also this other element of if your gut isn't the healthiest of healthy, which a lot of us probably don't have the healthiest of gut. I mean, I look the picture of health and I clearly am fucked up. So the absorption of nutrients is also different. So even if you're eating meat, you might not be able to unlock all of the nutrients. So B12 isn't a terrible thing to talk to your doctor about, which is, I forgot my intro. I'm not a medical professional. Always speak to your doctor. This is just kind of my knowledge. So take it to your medical professionals.
And as your lawyer, I thank you for that disclaimer.
Yes, the broad disclaimer, not medical professional. The other ones are, I mentioned magnesium. So that's actually used, a lot of people associate it with like relaxing of your muscles. And I take that at night. It's kind of like a anti-anxiety type thing, but it actually is used inside cells for when the cells convert glucose to energy that they can actually use.
So I also take magnesium. I'm feeling great about this.
Yeah. And then vitamin C. So vitamin C is an interesting one. Vitamin C and iron actually have a really symbiotic relationship. Vitamin C actually helps iron. Vitamin C helps iron transport blood, oxygen, all sorts of things to the cells. So that's why iron and vitamin C are particularly special. So like if you're fatigued a lot, sometimes you have an iron deficiency because your muscles aren't getting a lot of, it could be muscle fatigue or general fatigue. But vitamin C helps with that. But also vitamin C is an antioxidant. So it helps if inside of your body, there are a ton of free radicals that are oxidizing, you can feel exhausted and fatigued. So in terms of foods, dark chocolate, which I've talked about, has that high magnesium content before, so 70% cacao. Quinoa has both iron and magnesium, good sources. Lentils has magnesium as well as some B vitamins. I think B12's in there. It's not as high as beans in terms of the legume family, but also has zinc and iron. Oranges and strawberries are especially high in vitamin C. Green tea is interesting because it naturally basically has a natural form of caffeine in it. But it also has an antioxidant called L-theanine, which basically is a caffeine boost, but it's a little bit smoother. So it's a little bit longer lasting throughout the day. Nuts, almonds, walnuts, cashews, leafy greens we've talked about, which are high in iron and vitamin C, and beets. I was researching. I know you hate beets. Beets are kind of making headlines, and this is mainly like a muscle fatigue thing. So like in the height of activity, but it's kind of being associated with vasodilation, so the expansion of your blood vessels, which allows more blood and more oxygen to get to your cells.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which, I mean, if you think about like my suggestion to drink a lot of water, like anything that's like feeding your cells anything is going to be helpful for an energy level perspective. But yeah, if you need like a quick nuts, are always good to snack on. Dark chocolate, fruit, vitamin. So anyways, anything that's kind of quick to eat, nuts are a good energy source if you're like in the need, or like bananas actually aren't bad either. It's not on my list, but bananas is not a bad idea either, especially if you're like going to do a big activity. But so that's that. So things to focus on: B vitamins. Talk to your doctor if you don't eat a lot of meat and get your levels checked. B12 is going to be the especially big one. Magnesium, vitamin C, and iron. And you can also have your iron levels checked because that can make a difference too.
Well, thanks.
On
it makes me feel
NFG. Good. I know you're doing a lot of these things.
It makes me feel good that I'm on the right track.
So Enneagram 4.
Yep, 4. In case you don't speak French like Lo.
That was a terrible.
Yeah, it was not your best.
I don't know. It just felt not weird. Your best. It feels weird to like, yeah, okay, anyway.
So we have Enneagram 4, and then we only have 2 more types. So I haven't totally decided what we're going to do what I'm going to do after that. If I'm going to do like pairings, or if I'm going to go into like a deeper thing about each type. I haven't totally decided, but we're going to have to make a decision in a month or so.
Yep.
But so for now, we're on Enneagram 4. Just as an FYI, Enneagram 4 is the most emotional and the rarest type of the Enneagram.
Oh, it's rare. Okay.
So it's not rare on Bookstagram. Like there's lots of 4s all over Bookstagram, but you wouldn't know from Bookstagram that it's rare. But like, yeah, I happen to know a bunch of 4s, but it is the least common of the Enneagram types, and they really like that.
The more you know.
Okay, so as for the Enneagram 4 bingo, quote, did you see that beautiful tree? Hates Pier 1, pretends their life is a movie, loves being the rarest Enneagram type, gets into archery, buys all the supplies, never does archery. That smell reminds me of my childhood, has a very specific aesthetic, looks out the window while crying. Just like very...
Wait, can we unpack hates Pier 1? Is it just because it's too overwhelming?
No, it's like, this is basic as fuck. I'm unique. Like, I don't...
Got it. Okay, yeah. Okay. I haven't been in a Pier 1 in forever.
Oh, yeah. Like, I own some Pier 1 things. That should tell you all you need to know. How 4s travel by plane. Quote, I'm going to get to my gate 2 hours early so I can look thoughtful while people watching over a glass of wine and write poetry about propellers or the journey of life. Just like
Yikes.
They're very like they romanticize a lot of things. They're emotional. They're very nostalgic. And I know all of these things. So 2s go to 4 in health, and I mistyped as a 4 for a little bit. I'm clearly not one, but because I like related to some of these like dramatic, nostalgic, romanticized things. So yeah.
Who is a good love match for a 4? Like what Enneagram type? Is it like a 9? Where they're
9 is good.
9's good with everyone though, isn't it?
Yeah. So actually 2s and 4s are not, they're much better friends than they are.
Yes.
Because they reciprocate. Like, so 4s go to 2 in stress and 2s go to 4 in health. So like you would sometimes think that that's good, but it's not necessarily.
Not. Yeah, no.
No, I would say 6s are good. I would say 3s are good, and I would say 9s. But like, yeah, it's obviously I'm
trying to imagine 5. Alex, who's a 3, with someone like more like. I'm like, I can't imagine. Like, I'm not at all. Yeah, like I'm nostalgic in ways, but I don't romanticize anything.
Oh yeah.
He might like that actually.
Right. I feel like that's right. Well, so threes, there are 3-wing fours that there is some like, people that
Yes,
I know a
that's
couple
true.
3-wing
Yeah.
fours that have that like sort of creative nostalgic side to them. So like,
yeah,
there's some of that.
All right.
Okay. So type 4 is the individualist, also known as the tortured artist or the romantic. They are sensitive, introspective, expressive, dramatic, but they can also be self-absorbed and temperamental. Per the Millenniagram, quote, being different is our fucking calling card. Like they love that. They are self-aware, sensitive, reserved, emotionally honest, creative, and personal, but they can also be moody, self-conscious, and disdainful. Again, from the Millenniagram, quote, nobody understands me because I am in fact above them and a genius. So fours also have strong connections with other fours because of this. Like they
get each other.
Yeah. So their basic fear is that they have no identity or personal significance. So their basic desire is to find themselves and their significance and to create an identity. Making their unconscious childhood message, it's not okay to be too functional or too happy.
Oh.
Yeah, I hate them so
too
much.
Too functional? Does that mean like too independent?
Like, yeah, like just like having your shit together. Like you need to be damaged in some way to attract people.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
That's really sad.
Yeah, it's all of these messages are so sad to me. So their key motivations.
I have a question. When you're raising a child, are you just going to be constantly thinking about like how you're fucking them up and what their Enneagram type is?
Fully. 100%. 100%. I'm going to be like, what am I doing?
What is your unconscious childhood bias, child?
Fully.
What are you thinking?
As an infant, I'm going to be like, what's happening right now? What am I doing to you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for sure. Their key motivations are to express themselves in their individuality, to create and surround themselves with beauty, to maintain certain moods and feelings, to withdraw and protect their self-image, to take care of their emotional needs before attending to anything else, and to attract a, quote, rescuer. So like I said before, like it's the unconscious childhood message is like, you can't be too functional. Like they want
like you need somebody, savior.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So a full overview of them is type 4s maintain their identity by seeing themselves as fundamentally different from other people. They feel like they're unlike anyone else, and because of this, no one can understand them or love them adequately, despite them being the romantics of the Enneagram. They see themselves as uniquely talented and are acutely aware of their personal deficiencies. They don't want to be alone and want to connect with people. They often report that they feel like they're missing something in themselves, but they have difficulty identifying what that is. They can have problems with a negative self-image or chronically low self-esteem, and they may try several identities on for size and still feel uncertain about who they are. And they can become so attached to the feeling of longing and disappointment that they're unable to recognize good when it comes into their life. They're just attached to the kind of like the feeling of despondency.
Wow.
So they're obviously in the feeling triad with 2s and 3s.
Mm-hmm.
They are concerned. The feeling triad is concerned with identity, and they're trying to get attention with their identity. So as we discussed, that 2s project their identity outward to get attention, and 3s project it both outward and inward. 4s are just totally inward. They're in their head, in their feelings all the time, which makes their social style with the withdrawn type. They withdraw to get attention, and they respond to stress by moving away from engagement with the world and into an inner space, into their imagination. Their coping style is reactive. So they react emotionally to conflicts and problems and have difficulties knowing how much to trust people. And they deal with others by keeping them interested, by limiting access, playing hard to get, and holding on to supporters. So it's like sort of a game, if that makes sense.
Yep.
As far as the wings go, I just exited. Hold, please. As far as the wings go, we have 4-wing 3, which is the aristocrat / the winner, and 4-wing 5, which is the bohemian / the detective. So 4-wing 3, the aristocrat, They combine creativity and ambition. They have an eye on achieving goals involving personal advancement. They are more sociable than four-wing fives, and they want to be both distinctive and successful, like portraying success outwardly.
Mm-hmm.
They feel the need to communicate themselves and creative efforts to others. They are more self-conscious of their image than four-wing fives. They want recognition for their work and put more effort into having things to do with self-presentation. And they can also be highly competitive and narcissistic.
Mm-hmm.
Some examples: Jackie Kennedy Onassis,
Oh, wow. Okay.
Judy Garland, and Prince.
Oh.
Yep.
Prince.
So four-wing five is the bohemian. I've also referred, oh no, that's five-wing four, never mind. Four-wing five is the bohemian. They are extremely creative, combining emotionality, introspection, perceptiveness, and originality. They are much less concerned with status and appearance than a four-wing three. They are highly personal and idiosyncratic in their self-expression, and they enjoy the creation more than like the outcome and the presentation. They are definitely more introverted than the other wing, and they can be attracted to like sort of the exotic, the mysterious, the symbolic. I imagine like a lot of four-wing fives are sort of like the people that are attracted to like sort of, tarot.
Yes.
And which also I'm
Other
looking into tarot right now. So like,
worldly.
but right, like that is like, that is sort of the vibe that I get from that. And they can also be very private. Some examples of four-wing fives are Bob Dylan, Alanis Morissette, Johnny Depp, and Edgar Allan Poe.
Oh, interesting.
Edgar Allan Poe surprised me not at all, but some Bob Dylan surprises me.
Bob Dylan surprised me, or yeah, interesting.
Yeah.
Johnny Depp kind of is like, I'm like sitting with that. I'm like, oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, right. So the three instinctual variants of fours, they have self-preservation, which is the sensualist, social, which is the outsider, and the sexual, which is infatuation. For self-preservation fours, they tend to be the most practical and materialistic. They love the finer things in life and really relate to the material world. They learn to live in pain and hold pride for how much suffering they can endure.
Ooh.
They both enjoy getting and giving gifts. Like sevens, they can become frustrated divas, craving rich food and luxury. So social is the subtype that sees themselves as the most unique of the fours. So they're like a level above.
Right.
Which is both a gift and a burden to them. They are the most socially active of the subtypes, and they're constantly comparing themselves to others. They have a desire to be among the beautiful and the elite, but they often feel like they don't fit into that category. Many social fours become attracted to alternative lifestyle groups to compensate with that. The examples that were given were like the beatniks in the 50s or the gothic rock subculture in the 80s and 90s. Mm-hmm. They kind of like to wallow publicly. So when I think of wallowing publicly, I think of like the people that post on Facebook that are like, had a really bad day, don't ask me about it.
Yes, right.
I don't need you to comment, but I just want to tell
everyone to know that I'm really struggling.
Or like send thoughts and prayers. Don't ask me, it's personal. Like that's what I think of.
Yeah.
And then the sexual fours are the most romantic of the fours. They are the ones that are really longing to find the rescuer to come and save them. They can be sweetly vulnerable and impressionable while also being aggressive and dynamic. And their emotional lives revolve around the person that they're attracted to. And they can be possessive and jealous, sort of like when they go to unhealthy twos. Like twos can be pretty clingy and jealous. Sexual fours are also prone to go after someone who is unavailable because it's more of like the mystery, the challenge, that kind of thing. So I also, again, have like the levels of development on this document. And then as far as stress, fours and stress suddenly become over-involved and clingy at two. They may go to two and unconsciously try to solve their interpersonal problems with a slightly forced friendliness. So like trying a little too hard. Mm-hmm. And they begin to worry about their relationships and seek ways to get closer to people. And they need a lot of reassurance. Mm-hmm. But in health, envious, emotionally turbulent fours become more objective and principled like healthy ones, realizing that self-expression does not mean indulging their moods. They willingly become self-disciplined and no longer aloof bystanders, and they understand that acceptance is the key to letting go of their past. So they can, healthy fours are just like, they're some great, great people.
Yeah.
Examples of type 4 in history that weren't in the wings: Anne Frank, J.D. Salinger, Frida Kahlo, Billie Holiday, Joni Mitchell, Cher, Stevie Nicks, Annie Lennox, Florence Welch, Amy Winehouse, Angelina Jolie, and Nicolas Cage.
Joni Mitchell, zero surprising.
Right. Florence Welch, zero surprising.
Yeah.
Amy Winehouse, zero surprising.
Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah. So that's fours. Like they're to me, even though they're the rarest, they're the most easily recognizable.
That's a whole.
All right. What are you watching and reading?
So I this morning just finished Luster.
Did you like it?
By Raven Leilani. So we have a friend who's read it multiple times because it's what I texted her and I was like, I understand why. I don't even know that I can come up with words. Like normally I don't struggle with words.
I know.
I struggle with words for this. Like my review might be, I can't write a review because I don't.
Here's the question. Would I like it? That makes me think no.
No, I actually think so. It's really short. So here's
what
you're going to like about it. It's real petite.
It is petite.
I don't know, 200 something pages. Yeah, 227.
Yeah, very petite.
I think you would actually, so the way she writes is beautiful. And it sometimes is kind of like a stream of consciousness. And there were times when I like laughed out loud. So it's like subtly funny. But I think there's enough of like, it's definitely a character study, but I think there's not enough of a plot. You might like it. I mean, I would be not shocked if you liked it, but I also would be not shocked. Like I could go either way on it.
It could go either way. Okay.
Yeah.
I've been eyeing it, but it's also like I have fucking 100 books here. So it's just like.
Right. I was really invested. Because I was like, what the fuck? Like, what is, like, it's one of those where you're like, what's going to happen? What is this whole thing? But I feel like it ends. I mean, I'm confused by the ending and I'm like, what? But at the same time, it makes sense. It's like one of those.
Right.
So I understand why people read it multiple times because.
You're trying to like see what you missed.
Yeah, just like wrap my head. Because I feel like, there's something new you could uncover every time you read it.
For sure.
And I feel like everyone probably would read it and have a different
take on it.
So I loved that. I also finished Addie LaRue.
Did you like it?
Your face. So I'm like,
Was it overhyped to you?
Yeah.
Or what was it overhyped to you, or was it just like not even about the hype? You just like, even if it hadn't been hyped, you wouldn't have liked it.
Probably the last. I mean, I did not like it. Here's the thing.
Like it was a solid
3.5 stars. Like solid. Which means it was good. Nothing. I mean, the writing, I think that she writes beautifully. I really like the poetry of her writing. I don't know what it was. I can't put my finger on why I didn't love it like everyone else did. I really can't. I will be honest. I think for people that have read it, hopefully you guys remember the character names. I hope I'm remembering the fucking character names. I halfway through was when I started to feel more invested. And it was when it was Henry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Henry's story started to be told a little bit.
Right.
So I actually liked that story.
I mean, it was a long book. It was like 500 something pages.
Right. And I think that's also why I was like, okay, this is a lot. Like there were times when I was like, there's just like, what's happening?
Right.
What did I read? What's going on? Like, I just felt like there were moments of like, oh, wow, yes, powerful. And then like filled it. Like there was just a lot of filler.
Right. Like you felt like it didn't need to be as long as it was.
100%. So yeah, no, wasn't like a magical. So relative, like Luster.
Right.
I was so much more invested in Luster's story.
That does not surprise me.
Early on. But no, I don't. And I hate to hate. I don't want to hate on books that everyone loves. Like, I'm not trying to be like, I hate this book because everyone loves it. I'm not a 4. I don't care that I'm unique. Like that's not a motivation. But yeah, there was something about it. I just couldn't put my finger on why I wasn't like dying to read it every day,
Right.
but it was so long I wanted it to be over because I was like, this is just like weighing. It's like
going on forever.
It's like weighing on my spirit a little bit that it's like so long.
Oh, and yeah, I feel that.
Anyway, so yeah, so it was. I like get why people like it, for sure.
Yeah, but like not. It's just not.
Also, here's the thing: trigger warning for people that have Scorpio in their 4th house. My moon sign is Scorpio in the 4th house, which actually Scorpio doesn't even really matter, but I am highly emotional. So the 4th house is family and home. So like having a home and having like that is super. So it was kind of it gave me a little bit of anxiety. I was like,
yeah, that's fair.
She doesn't have a house.
Yeah,
where does she fucking go? So and that didn't make me hate the book, but it was
it's like
low level anxiety throughout.
Right. Yeah, when you said trigger, I'm waiting for you to read The Push so I can like hear your thoughts. Do you even own it yet?
No, I ordered it. Where is it? It must be coming.
Yeah, I'm like so waiting for your thoughts because like in the same way, like a couple of our friends like really liked it and like really took some crazy, great things from it, or like were really introspective about it, and I was over here like, ugh.
Like so visceral. I think you had like a visceral, totally.
Right. So
everyone
I think
absorbs a book different.
Yeah, I do think you're gonna like it though, at least more than me. And I think you will take different things from it than I did. Yeah, for sure.
I'm curious if you read Luster. It's like you could really love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not hard to read. It's not like a character study where you're like, oh God, Jesus fucking Christ. Like there are funny enough like there's like enough of it. I don't know. You might like it. This one it's hard for me to like predict that one though. I hate predicting because I don't like being wrong.
Yeah, but and so one of our friends predicted that I was gonna love The Push. And now every time I ask her if I'm gonna like something that she's read, she's like afraid to answer because like I had such a wild reaction to it. But I was like, that wasn't
one that I recommended to you. Didn't you also not like?
What?
Oh, I can't remember. I feel like that happened to us though. And that's why I'm scarred. I have no idea.
I have no recollection of that. So like
anyway. Tell me what you're reading. What's going on with you?
I finished Real Life. Great.
You liked
it? Yeah. Like I also I liked it. I wasn't like falling over myself. And I also wonder like how much of that was like the hype. Everyone was like losing their mind about it. And so I was like, am I going to like I didn't lose my mind, but I obviously like I liked it. I read it pretty quickly. I also read a book called The Baddest Girl on the Planet. I got it as an ARC from the publisher. It was the author's debut novel. It was like a quick, cute little read. It's not your jam by any means, but like just a cute, like quick little read. And I finished that. And I started like a couple of days ago. I started our March pod pick, Deacon King Kong.
Oh yeah, did we announce that by the way?
Yeah.
Oh, we did. Okay.
In the last episode when we talked about detrans, I hope.
I don't know
if we didn't.
I don't know if we did.
Really? But so I started Deacon King Kong. I'm only like 30 or 40 pages in, just because like I don't remember when I was tired when I started. Literally, and I don't even know if it's meant to be a funny book, and like maybe it was just the mood that I was in. I was cackling at like just like the way that like things were described in the beginning. Like I was just like like I marked a bunch of things. It's a library book, so I just like put tabs in it, and like
can't wait.
It's funny. It's like, and I don't know why.
I'm like so backwards. Like I need to be probably reading that right now, don't I?
No, I think you'll read it fast. But I like, and I don't know why I never picked it up before. Like why when it came out, I wasn't like, oh, I should read this. But like once I read the what is this, the synopsis on the inside, I was like, oh, this sounds really good. Like this sounds like a interesting book.
When it first came out, it's just been like sitting.
Oh, I'm jealous because you have a copy without all the shit on the front. That's like Oprah's pick and like
it's like the bottom of my stack right now. I'd have to check.
But yeah, I'm really liking it so far. So I'm hoping it does not later disappoint.
I know. I've got to figure out maybe I should just start reading that one next. Or I don't know. I guess I could fit one small one in between if I wanted to.
That's true.
I still haven't read The Midnight Library and I'm kind of scared.
Now I don't think you're going to like it.
Oh, really?
well, like now based on how, like I thought it was like a book that everyone would like, and I now understand why a bunch of people don't like it. And I just like, I don't know, I read it at the right time and just thought it was like really good.
Right. Anyways, maybe
But yeah, now I think it's not going to be as much of your jam
but
as I
it's
once
small,
thought.
right? It's like not that
It is.
big.
It's really short. Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I can just like, I'm also like keen to like trim my like stack.
Yeah,
It's
trim
so
the fat.
overwhelming.
Yep. So some great news.
What?
You remember how last episode we talked about Temptation Island?
Have you finished all seasons? Are you
I'm
up to
fully
date?
in.
Are you
I'm fully in. Like we watched. So and Ben is fully in.
Yeah, it's so good.
So we watched. Because we watch Hulu is our cable. Like we have Hulu Live TV. They have Temptation Island. It has commercials still, but they have Temptation Island on Hulu, so I didn't have to buy it. So I watched seasons 1 and 2. Like in record time, we watched those.
It's so fast.
And now season 3 is live. Like we're watching it live.
Yeah,
and
so you're up to it. So don't ruin it for me because it airs on Tuesdays, and Alex and I don't always watch on Tuesdays.
Yeah, so we're completely up to date. Fully in, and like
great.
Ben,
so this is now a Temptation Island podcast.
Yep.
Because can you even with Erica? What's his fucking name? Erica's boyfriend.
Kendall. No, I cannot, and it gets worse.
So here's the thing: like whatever. Like I don't judge people's relationships, but when she was kind of talking, when there was like a preview of like their life together, and she was waking up at 5 a.m. to like fix his breakfast. And he treats her like that. I was like, oh, fuck all the way. She deserves so much better, even before all of the shit on the island starts happening. So,
yeah. 2 things.
I cannot wait for her to live her best life because the previews for this coming up, like, she's going to live her best life.
Yeah. 2 things. 1, so they're about this. Well, actually 3 things. 1, Chelsea, who is short hair. She, I think it was one of our friends texted me and said she's Claire Crawley, and she like did a side by side, and she 100% is. She's Claire Crawley, and also like in emotional intelligence, Claire Crawley. Her boyfriend is a very bizarre replica of my best friend's husband, literally. And Ben's only met him a handful of times. But we were watching him on the first episode, and we both at the same time were like, oh my God, that's him. Like his voice is the same.
And it reminds me of Tom Cruise, who gives me the heebie-jeebies.
Oh, like young Tom Cruise.
Physically, but like, no, maybe not physically, but like short stature, big personality. Like Tom Cruise is the funkiest to me.
Actually, what we decided is he kind of looks like my best friend's husband, and his voice is identical. It's so weird. And I'm like, what is happening? It's so weird. And like a few of the same mannerisms, just because the voice is so similar that like when you hear some intonation, you're like, oh my God, it was very weird. And then the third thing, Kristen, is that her name?
As Julian's?
Yes.
Yes. I always forget her, Kristen. Yes. I think they're cute.
I think she is like the most stunning. I like look at her and I'm like, I don't.
She was so cold to the guys in the beginning.
Oh yeah.
Turned off.
And I cannot imagine, like she's, they've been together since high school, like they were 15 or 16, and she just like, oh, I'm just obsessed with her. Yeah. And like, I kind of want them to not leave together, to be perfectly honest.
But you don't? See, so he's cheated on her, what, 2 times or something?
Mm-hmm.
So I want to have that same emotion, but I actually feel like they're going to leave together. Like,
yeah, I don't know.
I feel like he really like loves, like, I really feel like I don't know.
This isn't really a spoiler. But D-list Chris Harrison asks Kristen at the bonfire if and this isn't about anything that Julian did, but which she would prefer, or which she would prefer or consider the worst cheating. Is it sex, or is it like an emotional relationship? Like which, she said sex, and almost every other girl would be like emotional. You would say sex. Is that what you're saying?
I don't know.
I would definitely say emotional.
I just can't imagine Alex getting emotional with anyone. So for me, it would be sex. Because I just can't imagine him ever, like, he would just...
Well, I guess that's true. Like Ben wouldn't either.
He barely gets emotional with me. So, like...
So, well, and I guess that's my thing. So
Maybe
like
that's why. Yeah, it's like
Sam,
extra.
like Ben does not get emotional at all. So if he was getting emotional with somebody else, I would lose my fucking shit.
Yeah,
Like
I don't know. I
I
have
think that,
never thought about it, to be
well, and
honest.
also to me, emotional, like it implies that it's longer, right?
Yeah,
Like if you have sex, it could literally be one time and you never see them again.
right.
So like that's part of my reasoning.
Yeah,
But
maybe
in any
that's
event,
true. Maybe I would say emotional too, because like sex, you just put your dick in something and there you go.
there you go.
Right? It's like
It
a
was
vehicle.
funny at the end of the bonfire. So it ends. You don't see the men's bonfire. You only see the women's bonfire. And so at the end, it's like very clear that D-list Chris Harrison is like trying to like, because all these girls are like, they're nice and they're like good people, and he's like clearly trying to like get them
Clear
to
them
cheat.
away.
He's like,
I know.
yeah, he's like,
Know
you
your
know,
worth.
know your worth, and like you're,
Mark Wahlberg, man. Mark Wahlberg. Here we go, though.
Mark
Can we
Wahlberg
talk?
without an H.
No, but his I at times feel like he has like a degree in psychology. Like the things he says, I'm like, oh, this is like a therapy appointment. Like
Oh
he
yeah.
like
Not
he
that I think he has a degree in psychology, but like he is like he's getting in there.
there's something about his credentials that like I feel like he's more than just a show host. Like he's even
not.
better
I
than
fucking looked him up.
no, but he's even better than Chris Harrison. Chris Harrison doesn't ask the shit that Mark Wahlberg's better than Chris Harrison, I think.
Yeah, but Mark Wahlberg is like, to me, he tries too hard.
Oh, does he?
Yeah, I think he
I
tries.
don't
Well,
know.
now that Temptation Island is like becoming more of a thing, in the first season, I was like, oh my God, relax. Like, who are you?
It's because I didn't watch the, I mean, I'm just like catching up to the third. No, I gotta love. So Alex and I watched the entirety of Paradise Hotel, which has one season only.
And you said it was really similar to Love Island, which I haven't watched.
Almost identical. Apparently they're sister shows, but then Love Island also did a US version.
US version.
Yeah,
So
so I
like,
don't understand. But no, it's basically the exact same, and it's the one exception being that I definitely Love Island is way more entertaining, like funny, because
right.
and mainly it's because we watched the UK version, and British people are just always funnier. And
Right. I'm definitely, if I like, Ben won't watch it with me. He's decided that Temptation Island is where he draws the line. So I'm going to be watching the UK version by myself.
You have to watch the first season because I was chortling. Like they legit, guys, sleep. It's like summer camp.
That's like the best.
Double beds, just like 12 of them in a single room. And so you have to sleep with a member of the, I mean, that's the other thing. They need to modernize. They need to like make it so that you can like have.
You can sleep with whoever, yeah.
Whoever. But in this case, they do like cis sexual people. And so you have to sleep with your partner in the same bed after just meeting them, but you're also with everyone else. And so there are times when they get to know each other and
so they have sex in front of everybody else.
And it's so funny. It's
like, can't you leave the bed? Like, can't you go have sex on a couch somewhere?
You probably could, but that's also, so there are, what do they call them? There's one room that's like a suite, and you can like you can like the couples later on in the seasons can
get a date and have
right, which get to have like the romantic room. But no, I just think it's so funny.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
And like shared bathrooms and like
it's like full summer
camp. It's full summer camp, and it is prime time.
So it is like, it's not like Temptation Island at all, basically, other than the fact that it's like a
no. So Paradise Hotel is much more similar.
Yeah. Okay.
But on Love Island, they also do like challenges, like just funny, fucking weird, like games, and it's funny. I don't know.
Oh, I'm pumped.
I just love it so. But Paradise Hotel was really good. I did like it.
Did you watch anything else, or is that your one show?
And then the Harry and Meghan interview. I mean, yeah. But
that was
the one show. We were out. We were away for the weekend, so it was mainly reading, and then
Paradise that life for you,
and Harry and Meghan, and that's it.
Yeah. Well, guys, I don't know that this is. We think every time it might be shorter. Like, I didn't even have a try saying that out loud moment.
I'm gonna venture to guess that this episode is shorter than the last episode.
Yeah, I mean, it would be hard for it to be longer.
Hard for it to be longer. Very difficult.
Yeah. So Deacon King Kong is, if we didn't announce, is our March pod pick. We'll be talking about it on the next episode. And
which means as 2 weeks, right?
As always, you can send in your try saying that out loud moment to us so we can talk about yours instead of ours.
Or blow us up with our conversation
yeah.
that we had earlier.
Please. Yeah, go ahead.
We just need all
We're ready.
we need all the conversations about it.
We're ready. Sort of ready.
I mean, I'm as ready as I'm ever going to be. But that's what this podcast is for, right? Uncomfortable things.
Yeah.
So
I think we need to change our intro. We're having consequential conversations all the time.
Consequence all the time.
Yeah.
Whether or not people think The Bachelor is consequence. I'm kidding.
It is.
No, but no, maybe we do need to change our intro. Maybe we'll
have to think about that. Poll the audience. Yeah, and let me know if What Up Bitches worked for you.
It did all the things for me. So if you're asking me if it worked, it did all the things.
Great. That's what I like to hear. Cool. All right. Until next time.
Try saying that out loud. Bye.
Bye.